Hello viewer, thank you for joining us. This is CBA News in brief and we are broadcasting to you live from Hargeisa. My name is Yunis Dekow. Hassan Yusuf Duale, a member of the controversial National Electoral Commission in Somaliland, has announced his resignation as his commission failed to win the confidence of the opposition parties. Mr. Duale said he resigned to be part of the solution for the protracted electoral impasse in the country. He added that his conscience will not allow him to continue at his job when he does not have the confidence of all the election stakeholders. On the other hand, Mr. Duale called on his colleagues at the NEC to follow his step and step down. Hassan Yusuf Duale was nominated by the opposition party UID and was among the incomplete electoral commission that took office in November last year. His resignation leaves the National Electoral Commission with only Kulmiye party nominated commissioners. 7 people have died and several others were injured in a car accident on the highway between Burco and Sheikh on Saturday afternoon. The minivan has overturned at Calanka locality, 24 kilometers north of Burco. So far, 7 people have been confirmed dead from the accident. The vehicle left Hargeisa in the early morning and was headed to Buhol town in eastern Togdel region. Togdel Region Administration and the traffic police are yet to comment on the tragic accident that is the deadliest road accident this year. Somaliland's government has expressed the fears that the cycle of locust invasions in some parts of the country could repeat in the next rainy season. This is due to the locusts leaving behind wingless nymphs who could begin swamping in the next rainy season. The Minister of Agriculture, Ahmed Mumin Saad, said they fear a disaster of a national-wide disaster that these nymphs left behind by the locust swarms may precipitate. He added that some of the nymphs have been spotted in some parts of the coastal areas of Somaliland. In a press conference on Tuesday, Minister said called on the international and local organizations to assist them to tackle this issue head-on. He also urged the public to inform the authorities of any sighting of the locust to be nymphs while announcing a coming conference on this issue. On the other hand, Minister Mumin said announced that the nation's agricultural output increased by 67% in the last 2 years compared to the previous 5 years. He affirmed that all the region of Somaliland have enough crops in stock for this year. Finance ministers of Ethiopia, Djibouti, Eritrea, Kenya and Somalia today met in Djibouti to discuss on policy directives that seek fostering economic integration and regional cooperation in the Horn of Africa. Somalia's Finance Minister Abdurrahman Duale Bele is in Djibouti to attend and discuss on the policy directives that seek fostering economic integration and regional cooperation in the Horn of Africa. In the 2-day meeting, the ministers will evaluate the joint trade and investment activities undertaken since the 5 countries came together to launch the Horn of Africa initiative last year. After considering the global experiences in the region integration, the countries will discuss ways to increase sources of finance for the 15 billion required to foster the cooperation. In today's session, they evaluated the progress made in the implementation of the deal signed in transport, power and digital infrastructure as encouraging. The 5 countries launched the Horn of Africa initiative last year during the World Bank Group / the International Monetary Fund annual meetings held in Washington, D.C. They agreed to take forward discussions on fostering economic integration and regional cooperation with the support of the European Union, African Development Bank and the World Bank. They evaluated the progress made in the implementation of the deal signed in the transport, power, digital infrastructure as encouraging. During his stay in Djibouti, the minister is also expected to meet officials from Djibouti government. Somalia's government has asked Interpol and Kenya to help detain Abdirashid Hassan Abdunnoor, also known as Abdirashid Janan, the security minister in the regional administration of Jubaland, who reportedly escaped from prison in Mogadishu. The Somali police issued a statement asking Kenya to help with the arrest and extradition of Jubaland Security Minister Abdirashid Janan, now in the border town of Baladhawo, from Nairobi. Reports indicate that Jubilant Security Minister Abdirashid Janan arrived in Balad in the Gedo region near the Kenya's border with Somalia and was received by a warm welcome from local residents. Kenyan government should arrest the Jubilant Security Minister Abdirashid Janan and hand him over to Somalia for prosecution, said a statement from the Somali police. This comes as a human rights body, Amnesty International, in a statement issued on Monday, said Janan, who escaped from custody in Mogadishu last week, must be deported back to Somalia to face trial. Amnesty said it has learned from multiple sources that Abdirashid is now in Nairobi, Kenya. Amnesty also urged the Jubilant President Ahmed Madobe not to shield Janan from prosecution. Janan was arraigned at the Banadi Regional Court in Mogadishu on 6 of October 2019 and thereafter detained until his escape last week. Somalia has said that it is working closely with the World Health Organization to prevent the spread of the coronavirus in the country. The virus has killed more than 300 people in China, with cases reported in several other countries. Somalia's aviation minister said they have deployed personnel at all entry points in the country in a bid to curb the spread of the killer virus into the country. The minister showed confidence that they have prepared facilities to quarantine individuals found with the symptoms associated with the virus. The assurance of the government comes even as, according to the Infectious Disease Vulnerability Index created by RAND, which is an indicator of a country's ability to cope with the outbreak of an infectious disease, Somalia ranks the worst, equipped with an overall score of 0.0. The worst prepared country to deal with the deadly coronavirus is Somalia, according to the data that measures a country's ability to cope with infectious diseases. And lastly, Kenya's former president, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, has died at the age of 95. President Uhuru Kenyatta announced his death, saying the nation had lost a great man. Mr. Moi was Kenya's longest-serving president. He was in office for 24 years until intense pressure forced him to step down in 2002. His critics saw him as an authoritarian ruler who oversaw rampant corruption, but his allies credited him for maintaining stability in the country. The debate about how Kenyans will mourn their former president began long before he succumbed to his recent health problems. The 95-year-old was loved and loathed in equal measures. His supporters will mourn him as a patriot and a consummate politician who they fondly nicknamed the Professor of Politics. But others will choose to remember him as a brutal dictator. His critics see his rule as lost years. They say he stemmed economic progress by personalizing the state, using government resources to award loyalties and withholding them to punish those who did not toe to the line. For example, roads and factories were seen as gifts to be given and rewards for communities if their top politicians worked with the ruling party KANU. This entrenched a culture of political patronage that has become part of the Kenyan politics. Rest in peace, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. And that is all we have for you on this particular news brief. Thank you for being with us. I was your host, Yunis Dekow.